device types with access to applications they need. Businesses need to unify their infrastructure technology environment with a common identity across on-premise Active Directory domain services in the cloud, and deeply integrated capabilities for PC and mobile device management. And also, lastly, businesses must protect their data and require a comprehensive set of access control and data protection capabilities. Okay, so to accomplish that, bring in Microsoft EMS. Basically, like I said, includes these three suites, Azure AD Premium, Intune, and Azure RMS, or Rights Management Services. At the highest level, Enterprise Mobility Suite is Microsoft's comprehensive cloud solution for your consumeration of IT and the Bring Your Own Device challenges, or BYOD. In addition, Enterprise Mobility Suite makes it the most cost-effective way to acquire these cloud services. Essentially, if you license these services a la carte, they cost a lot more than if you were to just purchase EMS licenses for your firm. Then you have Microsoft Azure AD for hybrid identity, Intune for mobile device management and application management, and Azure RMS for information protection. I'll start with Azure AD. Microsoft Azure AD Premium delivers robust identity and access management from the cloud in sync with your existing on-premise deployment or solo in the cloud if you choose. Provides single sign-on to thousands of cloud SaaS apps and access to web apps you run possibly on-premise. The library of cloud apps grows every day. Actually, Microsoft integrates and federates with more and more cloud offerings each day. Cloud-based self-service password reset for your employees, that's a big one, to be able to reset passwords remotely. Group management includes using self-service management of groups, adding and removing users, creating the groups you need for your possible departments. Group-based provisioning and access management for, as I said, hundreds of software as a service or SaaS applications. And they have machine-driven learning-driven security reports to show log-on anomalies and other threats you might see. They have rich and robust synchronization of user identities from on-premise directories, which is mostly the case. Almost every company is going to have an AD on-premise that needs to synchronize with the cloud, and that also includes write-back of certain attributes and changes that you might need. And it reduces risks and supports compliance requirements with comprehensive multi-factor authentication, or MFA. Okay, kind of just to go off the standard kind of just boring informational slides here, we want to kind of give you an idea of what various clients have needed or wanted, kind of both from a managerial standpoint or from the user side. So what we would have kind of done is compiled a generic list of kind of pain points from various projects we've done here at B2B, give you an idea of the conversations we've had and how EMS was able to greatly help these firms' infrastructure for what they need. Basically start with, we talked to a manager that says, my users have to remember too many passwords. We have, our ID password, all our application passwords, any cloud services that we use, any web or IIS-based applications that we use on-premise, they can have to remember 5 or 10 or 15 passwords. What can we do to alleviate that? And also, maybe when my user signs on to Microsoft Office 365 cloud services, I kind of want them to be certain they're logging on to a secure, say, company ABC resource, just a generic made-up company, obviously. And bring on Azure Active Directory Premium. Basically, what's one of the biggest headaches for IT staffing and management? I mean, it's an opinion question, but I'd say possibly forgotten user passwords. Early in working in the help desk, you wanted users to tattoo their passwords on their arms so they didn't call so much and need to have them reset. But anything that can be done to alleviate that can help alleviate your IT staff from having to reset passwords all day. And the less passwords the user has to remember is always a welcome feature. Azure Active Directory actually can federate with your on-premise infrastructure, allow for that single sign-on, and it can integrate with almost 2,500, actually it's up to about 3,500 to 4,000 web applications, for instance, LinkedIn or GoToMeeting or Salesforce, anything that your firm might need. So that single sign-on can be used to get these services. Basically, single password needs to be remembered is a beautiful thing. Easier for your users, easier for your IT staff. Not only that, if you have your own homegrown customized on-premise web apps, in most cases that can be utilized for single sign-on as well, going through the portal and just setting that up. And on the right side of the slide, it's kind of difficult to see because it's so small, but we'll go through a demo later and you'll kind of see it full screen. You can put your company branded logo on these sign-on pages. This isn't an absolute necessary or required for functionality of web apps. It's kind of an aesthetic thing, but some firms like the warm feeling of users seeing their customized sign-on screens when signing into whatever cloud-based apps they're paying for. I've seen on-premise Exchange OA pages be customized in similar fashion using web design or IIS pages, putting your company's colors or logo or picture or what have you, just so when users sign in, they say, oh, okay, I'm in the right place. But with Azure's EMS's Azure AD portal, it's as simple as browsing to a pic or entering text or just adding a URL, and you can customize these pages as you wish. You can even add a URL or an email address if a user is having an issue logging in, saying, hey, this is the IT help desk. Please email this if you can't sign in, and we'll get back to you. Again, this is purely aesthetic, but a great feature to have. We have a client that put a large picture of their actual office building where that generic highway picture is right there. So when a user puts their username in, they see their office and say, hey, okay, I work there, so I am in the right place. So ready to log on. So that kind of alleviated those manager needs for passwords and kind of a company branded logo. And then now we're going to come across a user pain point, and it's kind of still on the side of Azure Active Directory Premium. He says, hey, when I forget my password or it needs to be reset, it's extremely inconvenient to have to be inside the network to reset it to accomplish, especially nowadays when so many users like myself are remote. We're getting to a more and more remote worker environment where maybe 50% of your company is outside the domain at all times. Having to contact IT to have that password reset is a little not frustrating, but it's an extra step. And I realize there's also, you can VPN and possibly reset your password being VPN'd in, but sometimes those are tied to your LDAP AD, and that's not an option. And they also, a big addition actually for Azure AD Premium is group management. Users like to be able to manage their own groups. Say you're in the HR, the accounting department. They like to be able to create these AD groups and add and remove members, restrict who can access them, grant membership, etc. When they moved to the cloud, that wasn't a feature at first, but they've added group management features, so having to contact IT to add or remove users from a department is time-consuming and kind of inefficient. So again, now along with the self-password reset portal, Azure AD allows for administrators to set up that company self-service portal. Extremely convenient for, like I said, today's mobile world, and most all your users either work remote some or all of the time, so when they're locked out or they need to change their password because it expired, this self-service password portal lets them change it right from either OA and Exchange Online or the company portal or whatever other services they use in the Microsoft Cloud. Basically, your users will need to register for this in order to reset their password. You've done it before. You either answer the 3 security questions, provide a cell phone number, or a secondary email address. And then you don't have to be within the network or VPN'd into your domain to reset your password. It's just convenient for you remote users, and then your IT staff doesn't have to reset those passwords. And again, group management, another big plus for EMS's Azure AD Premium. On-premise, again, users are accustomed to managing their own AD groups, and early on in 365 that wasn't possible, but now with this new self-service group management, users can create groups, add remove members again, and block them or allow full membership where anybody can join them, basically anything you can do with an on-premise Active Directory group. All right, and we get back to one of the manager's pain points. He comes back and says, I need users logging on remotely to require more security than just a username and password. This is a very regular request. Obviously, you're accessing company, possible confidential company data remotely. We want it to be more secure than just a simple username and password. He also says our regulation agencies require various reports for these logon failures, possible attempted breaches, certain application usage. They want to monitor who's using what SaaS or on-premise apps. And again, Azure Active Directory Premium, which is part of EMS, will do the job for you here. A lot of companies aren't going to the cloud or just reluctant to put corporate resources off-site because of security. Seems to be 90% of the time, it's security. Another feature of EMS Azure AD Premium is integrated multi-factor authentication, or MFA. This is highly granular. It could be set for all users, a group of users. It could be configured to skip MFA when a user is within a certain organization using either IP ranges. It could be suspended for a remembered device. Say you have your laptop or your mobile that you use all the time. You register it with Intune, which we'll get to later, and it remembers that device, and then you don't have to use MFA. But then if you just jumped on a public computer and tried to access your OA page, MFA would kick back in. Just adds that extra layer of security, kind of gives the compliance department that warm and fuzzy feeling. How this works, the user signs on to Azure or Office 365 or whatever cloud service they're using with a username and password, and they must prove who they are with a secondary form of authentication. Supported methods right now are a mobile text, a mobile call, an office call, security questions that you've known, and there's also a mobile app that can be installed on iOS or Android or Windows Phone, and they basically get an alert on that phone and just push a button and it lets them in. And also, Azure MFA can be set up as cloud only, or you can actually use the EMS licensing to install Azure MFA servers on-premise. This gives you further control and integration even with on-premise applications and resources. Again, it can be set up for all users, configured for conditional access or not to be required by some or all, or internal or external users. Completely configurable, completely granular. And then on the right here, Azure Reports and Analytics. You can use Azure Active Directory access and usage reports to kind of gain visibility into the integrity and the security of your organization's directory. With this information, directory admin can better determine where possible security risks may lie, and they can adequately plan and mitigate those risks. Once again, these are kind of just the methods that MFA offers. I think it's enough where every user is either going to have a cell phone, an office phone, a mobile app, or a secondary email. The mobile app, as I said again, is kind of a newer feature to MFA and pretty interesting. Basically, how that works is they scan a QR code on the screen with their mobile device, and it automatically installs the app and registers that device. Then with that MFA, basically, once you log on with a username or password, your phone beeps or shoots up a message and says, is this a secure logon? You push a button, and Office 365 or whatever you're logging on to will let you in. And on the report side, in the Azure Management Portal, reports are categorized in the following ways. There's anomaly reports, contain sign-in events that were found to be anomalous. Their goal is to make sure you're aware of such activity, enable you to be able to make a determination about whether an event is suspicious. Integrated application reports provide insight on how cloud applications are being used in your organization. And Azure AD offerings integrate with thousands, as we said, of cloud apps. Error reports indicate errors that may occur when provisioning accounts to external applications, so kind of what failed when you try to set someone up for the LinkedIn or the Salesforce. User-specific reports display device and sign-in activity for a specific user. If you think someone's doing something fraudulent, you can narrow it down to just that one user. Activity logs contain a record of all audited events within the last 24 hours, last 7 days, or last 30 days, as well as group activity changes, password reset, and registration activity. So your compliance department should be happy with all the reporting that EMS can provide for you. They're great for auditing purposes. They certainly provide that compliance department with what they're usually looking for: unauthorized sign-in attempts, failures, brute force attacks, SaaS application usage, even sign-on location. If someone tries to sign on in California, then 2 minutes later tries to sign on in New York, it'll throw a red flag up and let you know. You see how informative this information could be to your firm. Let's move on to Intune, kind of the second offering from EMS. Intune provides mobile device management, or MDM, mobile application management, or MAM, and actually PC management capabilities solely from the cloud. You can deliver mobile device and application management across popular platforms, them being Windows, Windows Phone, iOS, and Android. Almost all modern devices are supported. A lot of times firms will want a comprehensive list of all the devices and all the OS versions supported, and it's very few and far between when you come across a device that's not, so we've seen Intune good with all of them. Maximum productivity with Intune managed Office mobile apps, and extend mobile application management to your line of business apps with the Intune app wrapper. Basically, you could push out apps to either desktops or laptops or mobiles. You can provide access to corporate resources on devices based on user enrollment and whatever compliance policies you might set up. And it simplifies administration via a single management console in the cloud with Intune, or actually on-premise through integration with System Center Configuration Manager 2012. Now, actually, full disclosure for those of you familiar with Microsoft System Center Suite, Intune's essentially a lighter version of SCCM in the cloud. System Center Configuration Manager has almost all the offerings that SCCM has, aside from the ability to monitor and maintain servers. It's primarily for user-based devices and machines, laptops, desktops, mobiles, tablets. But you can actually integrate it with your on-premise SCCM and maintain both your Intune setup and your SCCM from one console. And it's a very nice feature if you're already using System Center and you're already monitoring, say, all of your servers and maybe on-premise applications such as Exchange or SharePoint. You want to use Intune for, say, mobile devices that integrates right up. You can do everything from your on-premise GUI or console. Okay, not much to go over with the Intune portals until we actually get into the demo later. Currently, there's three main Intune portals, basically. There's the main one on the left, the admin one on the right, and the user one we'll get to next. The main portal on the left is actually being deprecated. If you log on to it, it says this portal is being integrated with the Office 365 portal, so it is going away eventually. But the admin and the user portal will remain. The user portal, I was mistaken, the user portal is on the right there. It's basically what your users will see when they register. If they have devices or applications installed, they'll see a complete list of all their devices and apps and what your company offers as an app. That's just a generic test portal site right there, so it doesn't have anything installed on it. But this is the admin portal. You see, it's kind of tile based, kind of like Windows 8 was, and you could customize that and move them around. It shows your devices, your health, what policies you have enacted, what can be managed using Intune. Users, you can add users. You could not revoke users, but exclude users from being maintained, so they can just connect their devices without going through Intune. You can set up policies for devices. You could require, say, Androids to have to register, but iOSs are fine. Or, as I said, it could be as very granular as possible. The policies you can create, compliance policies to make sure mobiles require passcodes or are not jailbroken, anything to that nature. And then there's also just customized email policies you can roll out for how users access their Exchange Online email. Push out updates. This is mainly for desktops and laptops. You can push out Windows updates or supported Microsoft app updates. And then it also provides your laptops and desktops with security. And back to kind of some of the not the pain points, but the requests or requirements that these companies or users or managers want. This user says, because I work remotely so often, I need seamless access to my email, my OneDrive files, company SharePoint sites on all of my devices, my laptop, my tablet, my mobile. So, okay, that's a understandable request. But then the manager comes along. He says, well, we need device management for all these mobile users. We have compliance and security we have to abide by. I want to be able to granularly manage and secure these devices. What do we do if one of these devices is lost or stolen? And how do we know devices accessing our sensitive data isn't jailbroken or possibly compromised, or even already have, say, a threat on it through, another third-party app from another app store. Well, that's where Intune comes in with MDM, or Mobile Device Management, is a way to ensure employees stay productive and do not breach corporate policies. Many organizations control activities of their employees using MDM products and services. MDM primarily deals with corporate data segregation, securing emails, securing corporate documents on devices, enforcing corporate policies, integrating and managing mobile devices, including laptops, handhelds, and of various categories. MDM implementations can either be on-premise or cloud-based, in which Intune is cloud-based. There's various MDM solutions, such as AirWatch, MobileRun, and others, but none can really deeply integrate with Azure and Office 365 and even on-premise solutions as your Intune can, because it is the Microsoft offering. Again, what are some of the features of Intune? It supports all major devices, Android, iOS, and Windows. It can deeply integrate with Exchange Online for email encryption and security. You can password protect it. If it's not, say, touched after 2 minutes, it goes to the password screen and require that code, whereas not everyone uses that for their phone. You could do that remote wipe or selective wipe, which is becoming a legal thing currently. Companies being able to full wipe users' personal devices is kind of a touchy issue, so you can just do that selective wipe of only corporate data. Jailbreak detection is a big one. We have anybody that has a device they bought on eBay or something that's been jailbroken. They don't want it on their corporate network. It can block that. And device encryption. If your device supports BitLocker, it can encrypt that corporate data on your device, so somebody can't maliciously try to find out what you have in there. So that fixes those user and manager pain points. Says, you know what, now that we have an inventory of these devices, there are certain they're secure. We have enabled our personal compliance policies. I have some useful applications I'd like to offer to our mobile users. Oh, I think I went backwards with that one. Yeah, that's just Intune can also, we'll see this more in the demo, but Intune can also be used to either load .exes or .msis or even URLs for web-based apps. So mobile users can actually either by choice, or you can make them mandatory if they register with the Intune portal, push out, and it's usually just company business-based apps or services that you might want your mobile users to use. Again, Intune Administration, along with managing those users and devices, you can also apply and push OS updates. This is, again, for desktops and laptops only. It doesn't push updates to Androids or iOS or things like that. It can secure your mobile laptops and desktops with System Center endpoint protection, which is basically your intrusion system for System Center. It's got a McAfee, a virus scan system. Pushes and monitors applications, as I said, to either mobiles or laptops. You want everyone in your company to use Citrix. You could upload that and have Intune push it out to all the computers that connect. Lock and wipe devices, and then allow and deny user connectivity. You can even have a quarantine where a user tries to register the mobile, and it sits in a quarantine box until, say, an administrator says, yes, this is fine, or no, this user shouldn't be using this device. On to more pain points. You see, this is actually a malicious user. He has a different picture. He says, someone on the board accidentally emailed me insider trade information. I'm going to forward it to my personal address to use for my own personal monetary gain. Obviously has happened many, many times in firms in the past. It's something that needs to be monitored and secured. Manager says, because we are trusting of so much of our information in the cloud, how do we know it can't accidentally or purposely fall into the wrong hands, like the slide before as it did? And that's where we would bring in EMS's third offering, Azure Rights Management Services, or Azure RMS. This protects your company's sensitive information. It uses encryption, identity, and authorization policies to help secure your files and email. It works across multiple devices, phones, tablets, and PCs, and information can be protected both within your organization and outside your organization. Because of that, protection remains with the data, even when it leaves your organization's boundaries. Microsoft Azure Rights Management can help you protect your corporate assets. It delivers information protection in the cloud or in a hybrid model with your existing on-premise infrastructure. RMS can actually be set up on-premise as well, and a lot of times we have firms that have it set up but want to enable it in the cloud, and we just integrate it up with that Azure RMS. Also integrates information protection into native applications with a very easy-to-use software development kit or SDK. One of the main features of RMS, once activated, that is used in RMS is for Exchange Online email encryption. There's a lot of third-party encryption softwares either on-premise or in the cloud that companies are using, but if you license for our Azure RMS or the full EMS package, you have this Exchange Online email encryption, which is seamless and requires very little setup and is very easy for users to use. This encryption of email protects the content from being read by other entities other than the intended recipient. Obviously, email is prone to disclosure of information. Most emails sometimes are currently transmitted in clear text and not encrypted at all. Basically, the way a lot of times we set it up is we'll set it up in Exchange Online as a transport rule, and it doesn't encrypt all email. If you put a certain keyword, say, in the subject, or it finds a keyword in the body, say secure or sensitive, it encrypts that email. Once it's sent, it's basically like any other encryption service. It gets the recipient gets an email that says you've received an encrypted email. You must log on either with a Microsoft account or an Office 365 account to receive. Basically authenticates that you're you and it hasn't been stolen in transit, and then they can pretty simply get that encrypted email. They don't have to sign up for another account with a Zix or something to that nature, so it's pretty seamless. Most people have a Microsoft account or an Office 365 account. And RMS also works in SharePoint. You can use Information Rights Management or IRM to help control and protect files that are downloaded from lists or libraries. Traditionally, sensitive information was controlled only by limiting access to the networks or computers where the information was stored. Then after that access was given to users, there are no restrictions on what can be done with that content or whom it can be sent. But with Microsoft Information Rights Management, it enables you to create a persistent set of access control that actually live with the content rather than with the specific network location. This helps you control access to files even after they leave your direct control. With Azure IRM, IRM is available for files that are located in document libraries and stored as attachment to list items. Site administrators can choose to protect downloads from a document or library with IRM, kind of restrict users from they can look at it but not download it. When a user attempts to download a file from the library, SharePoint Foundation verifies that the user has permissions or doesn't, and issues a license to that user and enables access to the file at the appropriate permissions level, whether it be read, write, or edit. SharePoint Foundation then downloads the file to the user computer in an encrypted, rights-managed file format. Basically, there's a lot you could do with the Azure RMS. Those are just two things with Exchange Online and SharePoint, but it's a very robust way of securing, corporate and sensitive company data. Now we could actually look at a few demos of all of this, just quickly kind of go through everything we've gone through right now. Basically going to get out of this SharePoint slide. Let's take a look at maybe on the user side, what they'll see for this company branded logo or their user reset, password reset, or group management policy. Say I'm just a normal user signing on to 365. Say Lex Luthor is remote, and he's going to jump onto his corporate email. You can see the B2B EMS demo, down here, this custom text for a B2B EMS demo, and the giant picture of my first slide here. Attempting to sign in, and we have an issue. try that one more time. And I actually have multi-factor authentication set up for this user, so they are getting a secondary call to make sure they are who they are. Phone should ring in a second. It's just a matter of hitting the pound key on your dial pad, and it basically authenticates you and lets you in. And as you see, once it's verified, it just goes straight to your Outlook or OA page as usual. For those of you familiar with Office 365, quite familiar with this, but say Lex Luthor's password is going to expire tomorrow. He wants to reset it. Usually he would have to be VPN'd in or in the network to do this, as it's a synchronized account. But with Azure AD Premium, which is an EMS offering, he basically has to go to just his settings page and click on this change your password link right here. Now I don't want to do this because it takes a little bit of time. But it's as simple as that, and it's written back to your on-premise Active Directory in a secure hash, and then once he gets back to in the domain, that changed password will actually be used on his domain machine as well. And again, for, say, group management, instead of having to say, hey, I want to create an HR group and have some users added to it, with this see new feature groups over here, we can simply create these groups in Office 365. I'm going to create Justice League. Now we got to make it known these groups, say, are not written back to your on-premise AD. They're pretty much cloud only. That might be a feature in the future where they can be written back. But as of now, once you create a group, it does exist in 365, and everybody can see it, whether they're on, if they're in the cloud actually. But once created, you can start conversations. You can upload files. You use it as a normal distribution group. Have this shared calendar. It's pretty convenient for tight teams that work closely on the same documents all the time. Now we can jump over to Azure and kind of look at SaaS app provisioning, security reports, multi-factor authentication. You kind of saw how that worked, but we can kind of look at how that's set up. I'm already logged on to Azure, my Azure demo tenant, kind of as the global administrator. You see B2B EMS demo. Say you want to add a new application and kind of set up single sign-on for your users. Maybe you have a marketing department that, say, uses Twitter a lot. Adding an application to your and federating to Office 365 is simple as I said, they have a very huge, robust gallery. You just do a quick search here. Select that, and after there's a few more configurations that need to be done, we don't have time to do here, but once set up and configured for single sign-on, users will be able to go right to Twitter with their Office 365 credentials. As I said, there's a few more configuration, but it's as simple as that in that nature, as long as it's web-based and a supported SaaS app. Security reports. Again, you have compliance departments and legal departments that require a lot of these reports. This is as simple as a tab right here, and there's a list of about, I think, 30 to 40 of them. Sign-ons from unknown sources, multiple failures, audit reports, multiple geographies, as I said, if they're signing on from different places. You can run these anytime necessary, or schedule them to run them and email them to yourself whenever necessary, or email them to somebody else in your firm. On a weekly or monthly or what have you basis, but as far as auditing and compliance, they're very, very helpful. As you saw with the MFA when my user signed in, that's actually configured in Azure as well. It actually has its own portal. It used to exist within Azure, but it's become so, they've added so many settings and changes you can make. Once this loads, we'll click over to the new MFA portal. Basically, it's in your directory and configure. You see multi-factor authentication here. Once click Manage Service Settings, and it basically opens kind of a whole new page. You can, again, do things like have trusted IPs, allow users to create app passwords for non-web-based applications, suspend multi-factor for member devices. Then you click over here to your users, which pulls right from your Azure Active Directory. This is where you would enable or disable users. Most of my users are disabled. I have one enabled. This could also be done all through PowerShell, but if you have to do it on a huge basis for thousands of users, it's just a couple scripts. And Intune, let's look at mobile device policies and compliance policies. The Intune dashboard is a little different. We're already signed in here. But I signed in a long time ago, so let's re-authenticate. And that customized branding you see pretty much across all cloud platform sign-on pages, you see that same branding. And this is kind of your mobile device management. There's no devices set up now, but say we wanted to create a policy or a compliance policy. Whenever anybody connected to our email system with their mobile, we want, say, them to have a password or check for some other things. It's a very simple click and check. Say test policy here, require a password, allow simple passwords. We want to say no. Require encryption or require jailbreak. Once enabled, basically you deploy that policy to either your users or devices, and that also can be as granular as possible. You can deploy to just iOSs, all users, all devices. And once we throw this into our test demo, that'll pretty much be enforced after all the changes kick in and the mobile devices recheck in via ActiveSync. Even if they're connected to Exchange Online already via ActiveSync, it will eventually pick up these changes. Configuration policies gets a little deeper of what you can do, say, with particular devices. You see iOS here, Windows, Android. And as you can see, there's a ton. You can set up specific profiles, custom configurations. We don't have time to really get into everything, but you can just see everything you can do with however you want to manage the mobile devices that connect to your corporate information and your corporate email system. Apps, if you want to push apps, say, to the either mobile devices or mobile devices or desktop or laptop devices. This is kind of similar to what you would do in Azure, whereas Azure kind of just puts them on the portal and federates them. You can add apps through this Intune portal. It connects to kind of another gallery. We're not going to go through all this here. We're kind of running short on time. But it is as simple as signing in and kind of just going through this simple click next, choose your software, and then upload. Then that'll be available to all your mobile users. And then lastly, for rights management, that's enabled back in this Azure portal. Basically, you go to your directory. It was enabled earlier today, but if you needed, say, email protection, as I was telling you about, it's as simple as creating a transport rule, and you drop down and click Encrypt with Azure Rights Management Services. Say if the subject or body has secure in it, it's as simple as modify the message security, sorry about that, and apply Office message encryption. And that message will be encryption. The recipient will have to either register or use their Microsoft or Office 365 account to receive that message. Again, SharePoint, we can also change settings in SharePoint, enable our IRM. I'm not by any means a SharePoint admin, but you could do things where if there's the word secure or confidential on a document in SharePoint, you can prevent users from downloading it or emailing it, or even in some cases copying and pasting it. Basically just securing that data you don't want to get out of your company. And with that, pretty much think that's the end of the presentation and the demo portion. Hope everybody is informed. What can B2B do to you as far as do for you as far as EMS? We can do an assessment and envisioning session, basically an overview of what you're using now, all of the solutions you're using for MDM or rights management, or even all the features that Azure AD Premium provides. Get your objectives of what you want to. Maybe you're not using anything and you want to use these features in the future. Kind of put together an architectural design for you and then present you with the findings and the next steps. And if you want to proceed, get you started with EMS or maybe one or all of the suites that EMS provides. And I guess with a little bit of time we have left, if anybody has any questions, we'll just give it a sec or two. If we don't,
looks like there's one. What advancements or improvements does Intune offer over the mainstream MDM solutions? For instance, AirWatch or Mobile Iron.
Okay, good question. As far as features are concerned and the control and the security, most mobile device management offerings are very comparable. I won't get into pricing of which ones are more expensive or less expensive, but they all offer similar inventory management, device and iOS support, and most offer either an on-premise or cloud setup, Intune included, because you can use SCCM on-premise with the implementation of Intune. But with Intune being a Microsoft product, it is very more tightly and seamlessly integrated with Office 365, your on-premise infrastructure, any other Microsoft cloud services you might use, mobile application management, MAM, mobile content management, MCM, let me see, email management, as we've gone over MEM. Suites like RMS, like I was just talking about, are actually really usually not compatible with third parties, but with Intune you can use that RMS policies on your mobiles along with desktops and laptops. Thanks for the question. All right, if there are not any more in a minute, I know we're a little over, we'll probably wrap it up in a minute or two.
All right, thank you everybody for joining us today. As I said, I will be sending out the recording either later this afternoon or tomorrow morning, so be on the lookout for that. And please, if you do have any questions, please reach out to James. His email is listed there. It's jmazio@b2btech.com. And we will get you pointed in the right direction or answer any questions that you might have. And we hope you have a good day. Thanks.
Thank you.
The leader has disconnected. The conference will be terminated in 5 minutes.